Hello and welcome to Indus News live from Islamabad. I'm Jawad Tehami and these are the headlines. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi says China has expressed complete support for Islamabad's stance on Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Talking to media about his recent visit to China, Qureshi said Beijing has outrightly rejected India's claim on Eastern Ladakh. He said his visit was instrumental in discussing a joint future strategy regarding regional stability. A high-level Taliban delegation is in Islamabad to discuss the Afghan peace process with the Pakistani authorities. In a tweet, Taliban spokesperson Suhail Shaheen said the delegation is being led by Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar Khund. The visit comes amid Pakistan's efforts to push the warring sides in Afghanistan to start direct talks. In the Philippines, 13 people have been killed and over 70 wounded in twin explosions in the southern town of Jolo. The military said one of the blasts was caused by a homemade bomb planted on a motorcycle. There has been no immediate claim of responsibility. India has become the new epicenter of COVID-19 as it has been reporting the highest number of daily new cases in the world for the last 18 days. The Indian Health Ministry has reported 836 deaths and over 61,000 infections in a day, bringing the total case to 3.1 million. In Pakistan, 9 people lost their lives to the virus and nearly 500 tested positive overnight, taking the country's caseload to 293,000. Globally, the pandemic has infected over 23.4 million people and claimed more than 809,000 lives. So the headlines and detailed stories right after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. And now for the news in detail. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi says China has expressed complete support for Islamabad's stance on Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Talking to media about his recent visit to China, Qureshi said Beijing has outrightly rejected India's claim on occupied Kashmir and Eastern Ladakh. He said the Kashmir issue was especially taken up for discussion during the second round of Pakistan-China strategic dialogue. Qureshi said his visit was instrumental in discussing a joint future strategy regarding regional stability. The foreign minister warned that India can stage a false flag operation to malign Pakistan and the freedom struggle of Kashmiris. Pakistan's top diplomat said 6 Kashmiri political parties considered close to New Delhi have turned against India's illegal actions in the occupied valley. The Taliban say they have killed 28 soldiers in an attack on a police headquarters in Afghanistan's central Ghazni province. Taliban spokesperson Zabiullah Mujahid said fighters hit the headquarters with a tactical explosion followed by an armed assault. Mujahid also claimed killing tens of government soldiers in other attacks across the province. A spokesperson for the provincial governor confirmed the attack, but he said only 3 government soldiers were killed in the explosion. He claimed many Taliban fighters were also killed in the clashes. The Taliban say their high-level delegation will discuss the Afghan process with the senior Pakistani officials in Islamabad. In a tweet, a Taliban spokesperson Suhail Shaheen said the delegation is being led by Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar Khund. He said the issue of Afghan refugees in Pakistan, trade and other related issues will also come under discussion. Meanwhile, Pakistan's Foreign Office spokesperson Zahid Hafiz Chaudhry said the Taliban are visiting on Islamabad's invitation. The last time a Taliban delegation visited Pakistan in October last year. The current visit comes amid Islamabad's ongoing efforts to push the warring sides in Afghanistan to start direct talks. For more on this, we are joined by former Ambassador Mr. Asif Durrani. Thank you for your time taking out for Indus News. How significant is this visit when the warring sides in Afghanistan are on the brink of holding long-awaited peace talks?
I think Taliban are also positioning themselves because, as we all know, that they had, President Ashraf Ghani, he convened a Jirga, Loy Jirga, our Grand Assembly, and it authorized him to release the remaining 400 Taliban prisoners. So that had paved the way for intra-Afghan dialogue. So before that starts, I think Taliban have also started approaching different countries, especially the neighbors. So in that respect, they are visiting Pakistan also. They have been to Iran, and I think they are likely to visit China and Russia. Yes.
So, Mr. Durrani, will this visit help remove the remaining obstacles to the peace process aimed at ending the decades-long war in Afghanistan?
I don't think this visit will remove the hurdles because neighbors are not a hurdle in per se, because it's now a dialogue between the Afghans themselves. So it is the intra-Afghan dialogue where I think both sides are likely to explain their position to their neighbors especially, but they may also reach out to other countries with which they have relationship. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Durrani, for your time. We really appreciate that. Now, moving on, hearings of New Zealand's Christchurch terrorist attack on 2 mosques in 2019 have begun. The attacks killed 51 Muslim worshippers. Brenton Tarrant has pleaded guilty to 51 murder charges, 40 charges of attempted murder and terrorism. At the start of the hearing, the court was informed that Tarrant wanted to target a 3rd mosque in the area as well. Tarrant is representing himself in court as the survivors and the relatives of the victims attended the hearings. New Zealand's High Court will announce his prison term later this week. 15 Philippine people have been killed and 75 others wounded in twin explosions in the country's southern Jolo town. The military said one of the blasts was caused by a homemade bomb planted on a motorcycle. It said the first blast took place around noon in front of a food center, which killed 5 soldiers and 4 civilians. The second explosion went off an hour later. The explosions marked the biggest attack since January 2019, when twin suicide bombings at a church killed more than 20 and wounded at least 100. There has been no immediate claim of responsibility by any group. In Yemen, security forces have killed 5 Houthi rebels in clashes with the government forces in the western Al-Hudaydah province. In a statement, the military said the Houthis were killed after they tried to infiltrate Al-Tuyata district of the province. The Houthis have not yet responded to the government's claim. Yemen has been entangled in violence and chaos since 2014 after Houthis overran much of the country, including the capital, Sana'a. An explosion on the Arab gas pipeline has caused a total blackout in Syria. State media says the explosion occurred between the Ad-Dumair and other areas in the northeast. U.S. envoy for Syria, James Jeffrey, says he's still looking into gas pipeline attack in Syria and is almost certain that it was a strike by ISIS. Earlier, the country's oil minister, Ali Ghanem, said the explosion could be a terrorist attack. The pipeline feeds power stations in the southern part of the country, and technical teams are already present on the ground. In 2013, much of Syria was hit by a power cut after rebel shelling hit a gas pipeline during the country's civil war. The Arab gas pipeline system extends from Egypt into Jordan and Syria. Israeli warplanes have attacked the Gaza Strip in another night of intense violence. The Israeli Defense Ministry says it struck Hamas military posts and underground infrastructure in retaliation to incendiary balloon attacks. No casualties have been reported from the raids so far. Eyewitnesses say at least 2 airstrikes hit a point belonging to Izz-ad-Din al-Qasim brigades in southeastern Gaza. Tensions have been rising for over a week, with Israel accusing Hamas of firing rockets and launching bundles of incendiary balloons across the border. Israel has also closed the Karim Abu Salim goods crossing with the Gaza Strip. The US says it will ensure Israel retains a military advantage in the Middle East under any of its future arms deal with the UAE. Speaking to the media in Jerusalem, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said Washington will continue to assist Abu Dhabi in a way that preserves its commitment to Israel. Pompeo is on a visit to the Middle East that will showcase US support for Israeli-Arab peace efforts and building a front against Iran. Pompeo will also visit Sudan, the UAE and Bahrain. A US brokered deal on normalizing relations between Israel and UAE was announced on August the 13th. Russia and Turkey have signed a contract to deliver a second regiment of S-400 air defense systems. Rosboronexport Director General Alexander Mikheyev made this announcement while speaking to the media. Rosboronexport is Russia's sole state export and import intermediary agency for the entire range of defense-related products. The first delivery of the S-400 system to Turkey was completed in 2019. Turkey is the first NATO member to purchase such an air defense missile system from Russia. The S-400 missile system is considered the most advanced of its kind in Russia. In Libya, commander of the Eastern Forces Khalifa Haftar has dismissed a ceasefire announcement by the UN-recognized government. At a media briefing, Libyan National Army spokesman Ahmed Mismari called the truce declaration a marketing stunt. A spokesman said GNA forces from the war-torn countries west were mobilizing around front lines. He said if the GNA forces wanted peace, they would have drawn back and not advanced towards Sirte. Mismari said LNA is ready to respond to any attempted attack on its positions around the coastal city of Sirte and Jafra. LNA's response comes after the Government of National Accord announced a countrywide ceasefire on Friday. Iran says the visit of the international nuclear watchdog chief Rafael Grossi is taking place within the framework of the safeguards agreements. It said Grossi will also discuss 2015 nuclear deal and the related protocols. Spokesman for the Iran's Atomic Energy Organization said the volume of the heavy water produced in Iran, parts of which are exported to a number of European countries. Referring to the visit of the Secretary General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Grossi, Behrouz Kamalvandi said it will help remove both sides' concerns. He said Grossi's visit will lead to reinforced mutual cooperation between the two states. Iran's nuclear body says last month's fire at a major nuclear power facility in southeastern city of Nantes was caused by sabotage. But Iran's Atomic Energy Organization did not say who they believe is behind the incident. Spokesman for the nuclear body, Behrouz Kamalvandi, says authorities will reveal the reason behind the July blast in the coming days. Some Iranian officials have previously said the fire might have been the result of cyber sabotage. Iran had earlier ruled out any miscreant activity leading to the series of fires at the various power plants. More stories to follow, but right after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. India has become the epicenter of COVID-19 as it has been reporting the highest number of daily new cases in the world for the last 18 days. The Indian Health Ministry has reported 836 deaths and over 61,000 infections in a day, bringing the total cases to over 3.1 million. Globally, the pandemic has infected over 23.3 million people and claimed more than 807,000 lives. More in this report.
COVID-19 is ripping through India, killing nearly 1,000 people every day as the world desperately awaits a working vaccine. The disease appears to be somewhat slowing down in Latin America, with daily deaths declining in Brazil and Mexico. As the pandemic continues to ravage the US, the state of Iowa has reported its first child death due to the complications from coronavirus. President Donald Trump says FDA's approval for the convalescent plasma treatment will help slow down the death rate.
and it has proven to reduce mortality by 35%. It's a tremendous number. The FDA, MIT, Harvard, and Mount Sinai Hospital have also found convalescent plasma to be a very effective method of fighting this horrible disease. Based on the science and the data, the FDA has made the independent determination that the treatment is safe and very effective.
In Europe, the UK Health Minister called for children to return to schools, saying missing school pose a greater risk to children than COVID-19. Meanwhile, Germany has further tightened travel and border restrictions after witnessing a 4-month high infection rate. But the outbreak is finally on the decline in Australia's COVID-hit state of Victoria, as it reported its lowest daily infections in 7 weeks.
So many people are following those rules, and I'm grateful to each of them, to each of you, and I'm proud of each of you, because that's what's driving these numbers down. That's why we've got a 1 in front of these numbers, and we're on the verge of getting into double digits. It wasn't that long ago that we had more than 700 cases on a given day.
China has reported 0 domestically transmitted cases in the past 24 hours, while the recent surge in South Korea too has somewhat decreased, with the daily cases falling down to 266.
9 patients of COVID-19 have succumbed to the infection in Pakistan, taking the death toll in the country to 6,244. This comes as the recovery rate in the country remains promising at 93%. Data by the Health Ministry shows a decline in the infection rate, with a little over 10,000 active cases remaining in the country. The ministry said nearly 496 people tested positive in the past 24 hours, taking the tally to over 293,000. Sindh remains the worst hit province, witnessing nearly 128,000 infections, while Punjab has reported over 96,000 cases. The Health Ministry said Punjab has reported 0 deaths in the past 24 hours. India's opposition leader Sonia Gandhi has decided to stand down as Congress party chief. The party statement said the ailing leader took the decision after several leaders asked her for an overhaul of the leadership. Gandhi says her tenure as the interim president lasting for 1 year is over, and the party should choose a new chief. The developments bring out conflicts within the party, which lost power in 2014 and has remained in the wilderness ever since. Well, a faction of Congress leaders support Rahul Gandhi's return as chief, and another section seeks a new president from outside Gandhi's family. Nepal has denied that Indian media's claim that China is occupying Nepalese land. Nepal's foreign ministry slammed flagrant reports about its territory, which was violated by the support of Prime Minister Khadga Prasad Sharma. The government also refuted the claim first made by Nepalese media, which later apologized for publishing the report. An Indian news agency alleged China has occupied Nepal's land, spreading over 7 bordering districts. The foreign ministry said Kathmandu and Beijing will solve any issue through consultation. The boundary between Nepal and China is demarcated on the basis of the boundary treaty of 1961. In Belarus, 2 senior opposition politicians have been arrested amid ongoing protests against President Alexander Lukashenko. The government has given no reason for the detention of the Opposition Coordination Council members Olga Kovalkova and Sergei Delvisky. Opponents of Lukashenko established the Coordination Council with the aim of negotiating a transfer of power. Earlier opposition candidate Svetlana Tikhanovskaya said she hopes dialogue with the authorities will start soon. For the 15th consecutive day, tens of thousands of people rallied outside Presidential Palace, demanding Lukashenko's resignation over alleged rigging in the election.
Our resistance is a marathon. The regime cannot deal with this marathon, but we can. We have the will, strength, and support of each other. We shall all right. Go out, speak out, stand up, complain, be uncooperative, boycott, not agree, and keep it up.
U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Stephen Biegun is set to travel today to Lithuania, Russia and Ukraine on a 3-day visit. In a statement, the State Department said Biegun will meet senior government leaders to discuss regional issues. The visit comes as Washington seeks a peaceful resolution to Belarus election crisis. Washington and the European Union have condemned the election as marred by the irregularities. On Thursday, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo urged Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko to accept international help in opening talks with the opposition. Pompeo has also warned Russia not to intervene. The UN Migrant Agency says the Libyan Red Crescent has retrieved the bodies of 22 migrants of the coastal town of Zawara. IOM's Libya mission chief Federico Soda said the deaths are the result of the hardening policy towards people fleeing conflict and extreme poverty. Officials say the retrieved bodies were all African males, but they said the nationalities of the victims were unknown. Earlier on Wednesday, the UN aid agency said dozens of migrants and refugees had perished off Libya in the deadliest shipwreck so far this year. The latest tragedy brings the death toll to 302 migrants and refugees known to have perished on the route this year. Torrential rains triggered a flash flooding in Turkey's northern Black Sea region has killed 6 people while 10 others are missing. In a statement, Interior Minister Süleyman Soylu said search and rescue operations are underway to find those missing. Soylu said power has been restored to some areas, but the damage to infrastructure is extensive. Turkey's Disaster and Emergency Management Presidency said 157 people have so far been rescued from the flood-stricken areas. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan offered condolences to families of the victims. Pakistan Embassy in Ankara has also offered condolences to the Turkish government over the loss of lives. In the US, wildfires in California continue to rage on after killing 6 people and displacing over 175,000. The worst wildfires in the state's history have been fueled by high temperatures and lightning strikes. California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection said over 1 million acres of land and 700 buildings have been destroyed so far. It said more fires are feared to ignite as more lightning storms are expected this week. President Donald Trump offered condolences to the victims and approved a disaster declaration as the state battles 24 major wildfires. A tropical storm is heading towards the U.S. after killing 10 people in the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Marco, a storm traveling over the Gulf of Mexico, has become a hurricane, while another tropical storm, Laura, is on course to cross over the same route. The storms have forced thousands of coastal residents in the U.S. Louisiana state and Cuba to flee, while flooding roads in Haiti. U.S. President Donald Trump has issued a disaster declaration for Louisiana as it braces for Hurricane Marco. He said both the scope and pace of the hurricane is unprecedented and can bring significant damage across the Gulf Coast.
Somewhat unprecedented, the scope of the storms and also the fact that they come so quickly after one another. Both storms have the potential of gathering strength before they make landfall and could cause significant damage across the Gulf Coast and also in Puerto Rico.
European markets have started the week on a positive note, brushing the worries over the pandemic aside momentarily. Frankfurt's DAX is leading the gains with almost 2.5%. London's FTSE has gained almost 2%, while Paris's CAC 40 has jumped over 2%. Italy's FTSE MIB too has climbed almost 2%. Earlier, all Asian stocks traded positive territory as well. Now the weather situation from around the globe. And that is all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.News.